Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're tuned into the bridge. We're going to be taking a look at a ancient HOPI prophecy, and this is really quite fascinating. The world is going through so much turmoil right now, and I think that it's really important to note some of these things, to think about some of these things, and ask ourselves, perhaps, where does this come from? Is there something significant to be gleaned here from these messages? So I'm going to play and read this prophecy, and you can put your feedback into any of the channels to be able to give feedback if you would like. Okay, let's check it out. The appointment as interpreter of the prophecies gave him a broad mandate from the beginning. Referring to the HOPI elder, his main focus was on securing hearing at the United Nations in accordance with the ancient prophecy, to take the HOPI message of peace to the great house of Micah. He was often warmly received by the United Nations officials. His effort to give a speech was repeatedly rebuffed. But then, as he explained, the elders had told him to knock on the door 4 times. On his 4th attempt in 1992, he was allowed to make a brief speech at the General Assembly Hall, but on a day when the General Assembly was in recess. Only a few delegates were present when he carefully sprinkled cornmeal on the podium and then delivered his message, stressing the need for world leaders to listen to those still living in harmony with nature. The presentation by Grandfather Thomas, the final speaker, was preceded by 3 shouts by Grandfather Oren Lyons, faith keeper of the 6 nations, and first speaker of the day. The shouts were a spiritual announcement to the great spirits of the people assembled, and the intention to give a message of spiritual importance. Grandfather Thomas then sprinkled cornmeal next to the podium of the General Assembly and made a brief remark in HOPI that translates as follows. HOPI spiritual leaders had an ancient prophecy that someday world leaders would gather in the great house of Micah with rules and regulations to solve the world problems without war. I am amazed to see the prophecy has come true, and you are here today. But only a handful of United Nations delegates are present to hear the Moti Shinam, HOPI, the first people from around the world who spoke here today. Albert Einstein met with the Hopis in 1922. Very interesting. My name is Banyaka. Of the wolf, fox, and coyote clan, I am a member of the Hopi sovereign nation. Hopi in our language means a peaceful, kind, gentle, truthful people. The traditional Hopi follows the spiritual path that was given to us by Masayu, the Great Spirit. Masayu U. We made a secret covenant to follow his life plan at all times, which includes the responsibility of taking care of this land and life for the divine purpose, for his divine purpose. We have never made treaties with any foreign nation, including the United Nations, but for many centuries we have honored this sacred agreement. Our goals are not to gain political control, monetary wealth, nor military power, but rather to pray, and to promote the welfare of all living beings, and to preserve the world in a natural way. We still have our ancient sacred stone tablets and spiritual, religious sacrifices, which are the foundations of the Hopi way of life. Our history says our white brothers should have retained those same sacred objects and spiritual foundations. You know what you're looking at? In 1948, all traditional Hopi spiritual leaders met and spoke of things I felt strongly were of great importance to all people. They selected 4 interpreters to carry their message, of which I am the only one still living today. At the time, I was given a sacred prayer feather by the spiritual leaders. I made a commitment to carry the Hopi message of peace and deliver warnings from prophecies known since the time the previous world was destroyed by flood and our ancestors came to this land. My mission was to open the doors to this great house of Micah to native peoples. The elders said to knock 4 times, and this commitment was fulfilled. When I delivered a letter and the sacred prayer feather I had been given to John Washburn in the Secretary General's office in October 1991. I am bringing part of the Hopi message to you here today. We have only 10 minutes to speak, and time is late, so I am making my statement short. At the meeting in 1948, Hopi leaders 80, 90, and even 100 years old explained that the Creator made the first world in perfect balance, where humans spoke one language, but humans turned away from moral and spiritual principles. They misused their spiritual powers for selfish purposes. They did not follow nature's rules. Eventually, the world was destroyed by sinking of land and separation of land, by what you would call major earthquakes. Many died and only a small handful survived. Then this handful of peaceful people came into the second world. They repeated their mistakes, and the world was destroyed by freezing, which you call the Great Ice Age. The few survivors entered the Third World. That world lasted a long time, and as in previous worlds, the people spoke one language. The people invented many machines and conveniences of high technology, some of which have not yet been seen in this age.